Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us in the world. Welcome to Football Worldwide. Welcome back. Football is finally returning to our domestic leagues, but today we have a very special episode to bring to you. Without further ado, I'm here with my co-host, Jonathan. Why don't you introduce our special guest?
Guys, very happy to be back as always. We have a very special guest joining us this evening, and it is Optus Sports' own Michelle Escobar. How are you?
Hi, I'm really good. Thanks. How are you guys?
We're excellent and very glad that you've joined us this evening to be able to have a bit of a debrief as to what's happening and all that.
Yeah, we'd love to cover what's happening across the world, Europe, and football in general. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're introducing a newish segment for our guests. It's called The Quick Five with Football Worldwide, where we ask you 5 quick questions, football and non-football related. So we'll get straight into it. Jonathan.
Michelle, starting at number 1, which we prepared this just for you. What's your favorite European team that you support?
I support Liverpool, like many in Australia, but yeah, I'm a Liverpool fan.
Okay. We'll see how this interview goes from here.
Mixed reception there.
So, who is your favorite player? It can be current, it can be former, everything.
Well, who's currently still playing, and this is another controversial one, it's actually Luis Suarez. Many wouldn't say him, but I just find it obviously he played for Liverpool as well. But, you always get an entertaining game with him, even if he's doing the right or wrong thing, you're always going to be entertained, and he's got such skill and talent to back it up as well. So, yeah, I would have to say him.
Yeah, I like it. Not one that I expected, but no, I like it. No, definitely a good one.
Yeah, it's very different.
He's been. How good has he been going for Atletico Madrid the past, season and a half? And since he had a slow start at the beginning of this season, which we've been seeing, but mate, even for Uruguay, he's just someone that's always there, isn't he?
Yeah, and he would do anything to win. You can see that competitive nature.
Yeah. I remember the handball in the World Cup, and he got the red card, he got the penalty, and he stood there waiting. And when the keeper saved the penalty, he was like, okay, it was worth it. It was worth everything. But no, you love to see that.
There's so many things like that.
I was going to say, and then the other one was the famous jaws on Chiellini back in the other game. So, yeah.
We'll leave that one there.
All right, we'll leave that one. Next one, just a general one. Where would be your favorite holiday destination?
So it's probably one that I've already been to. So Mallorca in Spain, the island. Yeah,
beautiful place.
Really nice. Yeah, time there, and the weather and the vibe and everything about it. I just loved it, and I want to go back. Yeah, it's like a perfect holiday destination.
Good one. I like it.
Who is your idol in life?
I'm going to say 2, and that would have to be my parents. I'd say they're my idols. Yeah, I value them very much, their opinion, their advice, and everything. So yeah, I'd have to say my parents.
That's
awesome.
Excellent. And if an actor was to play you in your life, who would you most like it to be?
I've thought about this question a lot.
It gets everyone.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know. Obviously, you always want it to be someone that's better looking. Like, you would never think someone that's ugly. So I'm going to say Mila Kunis.
Yeah, good choice.
Again, and different topic. Like, everyone goes for the big ones, and no, I like that.
Yeah, a bit of that 70s show back in the day. Yeah, why not? I was a big fan of hers.
Okay, so Michelle, you're from Optus Sports, and in Australia, streaming services have become the go-to when it comes to sports. You got all your sports across all the genres, and Optus Sports really made their name for themselves after picking up the rights to the Premier League, the World Cup, and all of that. So how did you become a journalist, and why was it football? What drew you to football?
Yeah, so I became a journalist. Well, I studied journalism at uni in Perth at Curtin Uni. That's where I went. And I always loved sport and specifically football, growing up watching, I guess, the A-League going into the Premier League. That was, what I loved. And I always thought that it would be a dream job and something that I'd aspire to do. But I guess it being a dream, I never really thought that it was going to happen. So, but I actually started out in radio. That's why I moved to Sydney. So just before I finished uni, I got a job in radio through my tutor, and it was for an AM station. And it was a really good experience because I was able to read on air straight out of uni, which is rare. It was a pretty full-on schedule and all that, but it was worth it. And then after I worked at Fox Sports, and that was my first introduction into a proper newsroom, working at Fox Sports News. And then from there, I just, I was able to weave my way into football, and that's where I wanted to work.
Excellent.
So just following on from that, as a sports journalist, football journalist, you have a lot of interesting people, characters, interviews. So what has been the one that stood out the most? What's your most memorable interview?
I'd have to say my most memorable interview is Roberto Martinez, the Belgium coach. That was at the World Cup draw for the 2018 World Cup draw. And it was at the end of 2017 in Moscow. And it was at the Kremlin. So that was just the setting, the occasion, and everything about it. To be honest, I don't remember the interview that much. It was a pretty normal sort of interview in the mixed zone. So it wasn't anything out of the norm, but it was more so that, just the occasion, the people that were around. I also spoke to Marcel Desailly, Mark Schwarzer, who works with us. He was just getting all these names. And Ante Milicic was there because he was the Socceroos coach at the time. And he was one of the I was one of the only ones that spoke to him because no one actually knew who he was.
Okay.
But that whole occasion, it was just so cool. Because FIFA have their proper hotels that, that's where the media stays. So Laurent Blanc was in the lobby, and so was Schmeichel Senior. He was there in the lobby as well.
This one's just throwing names everywhere now.
I don't know them or anything. I was just starstruck seeing all these people that I'd grown up watching, and they were just around me. And so Roberto Martinez, being able to actually interview him was pretty surreal.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like I said, throwing some names there, but being a football fan as we are, and you being able to put this into your profession, you would just kind of be a bit starstruck seeing them. What, like you've said, us watching them growing up and all of that. So
just names, the names that they send shivers down your spine when you watch some of their highlights and stuff. That's I love that.
It was awesome. And also actually on the shuttle from the hotel to the draw, there was this lady that was in a full-on leopard gown sort of thing, and one of the girls that I work with, we were just that's very extravagant compared to the rest of us that were on the bus in just normal clothes. And then later we found out that it was Diego Maradona's girlfriend at the time.
Oh, wow.
There's an explanation.
Yeah, they saw her in the photos, and I was oh, okay, it makes sense. I was I wish I would have known who she was at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty cool as well.
That's an awesome experience right there. You could write a book just on that. So that's awesome. Michelle, next one. Hot topic, especially with some of the recent things that have happened in the last couple of weeks during international break. So the scope of football has changed in the past 10 to 15 years. First with goal line technology, and then with the introduction of the VAR system. Do you see any issues with the technology itself? And would you actually change anything with how it's run?
I'm still very divided on VAR. I'm not sure if it's the technology or the use of it. But I feel like it takes the life out of the game and the fun out of it and we saw this more probably last season than the season before when, they were calling goals for being offside by just a toenail or an armpit. And it's that when they start drawing the lines and getting to just the fine little details there I feel like that's where it takes out the fun. And also when they take so long to come to a decision, it ruins the flow, the pace of the game. So I'm not I'm not exactly sure if it's the technology or the use of it. But I would have to say when it comes to technology, I'm all for goal line technology because that's very black and white. It's the ball's either over the line or it's not. So I'm very torn on VAR. I'm not completely convinced just yet.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. It definitely improves the game, as in decisions. Well, on paper, decisions are meant to be 100% correct, whether it is a toenail, offsides, offside, etc. But then when it comes to contentious penalty calls and red cards, and you just feel the referees are too scared to blow the whistle because, VAR is going to have their back. Or at the same time, the referees are making the judgment and then they're hoping to get that second chance when VAR reviews it and so forth. But I just feel there needs to be a textbook on how it is to be used properly because we've seen it initially throughout Italy, and then when it expanded across to England and so forth, you'd go from Italy, the Serie A, to the Premier League, and the same exact occurrence happens, and you're just getting two completely different decisions. So there's no consistency across it, and I just think that it lacks that. If you had the consistency, I feel you'd have a better fan base for it because at the end of the day, you're there to improve the game. But I just feel as a fan of football in general, even when your team scores a goal, you're just sitting there waiting for the referee to say, you can kick off now.
That's the thing where it takes the fun out of it. And also when you think it's a goal and you don't even think anything about VAR and then it's ruled to be otherwise, and you're like, oh, God, you've just gone through the
5 minutes of go down the field.
Yeah. So, I'm also not sure if there's more controversies in certain leagues. So it seems like in the Premier League for a while, every single week there was something going on, whereas they were saying in other European leagues there wasn't as much controversy because they were using VAR in a different way. So, like you said, it's the inconsistency that's all across the world, really.
I think the other thing is that you have to take into perspective is a lot of referees and people in the VAR room and all that, it's their interpretation of the rules themselves. 2 years ago in particular, going back to the Italian Serie A, where pretty much any ball that hit your hand, even if it was off your body or something, automatic penalty, and all that. And there was, it just literally, penalties were blown out like never before. And comparing it back to the Premier League, and it was introduced the following year, and you just saw a lot more. Well, I know you said it wasn't as bad, but us looking at it from the Serie A perspective, we're like, how good is this? The decisions are working correctly, and by the letter of the law and all of that, it was a better understanding. So I think it also comes down to the referee on the day as well. Unfortunately, there's too much grey in a lot of these decisions too.
And Michelle hit it on the head. Different leagues have different approaches, and when you have a competition like the Champions League, for instance, you're getting referees from different countries officiating different games. So that's where you see every different country's approach to it, and what happens in one game is completely different to the next, whereas there's some form of consistency in the Premier League.
Yeah, that's very true. And I also, it's interesting sometimes when you're watching a particular game that doesn't have VAR, and now when something happens, when there's an incident, a challenge or something, and you're like, where's VAR? And then your mind starts changing, and now we're getting used to it as well.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Okay, so this next question is actually it's a passion point for me. So you recently interviewed one of my idols in the football world, Fabrizio Romano. And you got onto the topic of Australian players. Now, I'm sure you're aware, since Australia made the World Cup in 2006, football in Australia has just taken off. People are. I've been a football fan my whole life, but I've seen people talking about it that beforehand that had no interest whatsoever. And it's changed both here and our perspective of it internationally as well, as you can see with streaming services all fighting over who gets what leg and all of that. Now, what are your thoughts of Australians making a name for themselves? Because you did touch on this with Fabrizio, and he was a bit quiet on the topic because he wasn't too. He's dropping names like Harry Kewell, Mark Viduka, and to us they're ancient because we've been paying attention a lot more. But we're seeing the likes of Ange Postecoglou. He's made his name now at Celtic, and Samantha Kerr. She's just sent waves across Europe with her performances with Chelsea, let alone Australia. How do you see Australians progressing through the system and becoming household names across the world more frequently as the academies start to move through?
I think it's slowed down a bit because, like you said, when I asked Fabrizio Romano about Australian footballers and he was naming ones from the golden generation who are, massive, but it has been a while since they played. So, yeah, I think it's slowed down. I think now it's really all about the women, the Aussie women footballers. They're, killing it over in the Women's Super League in England. Sam Kerr is a household name almost like around the world. Anyone that knows football knows who Sam Kerr is. And in Australia, most people don't even need to like football and they've heard of her name. So I think that's where it is. And it's a shame because there aren't any Aussies in the Premier League. There is Caleb Watts, but he hasn't come. I'm pretty sure he hasn't come through like the Australian system. So it's a bit of a shame, and hopefully that can change. And after 2006, everyone was really into football, but I feel like it's dipped a little, and that might have to do with the A-League as well.
Yeah.
But that could change once again now with new rights and new broadcasters and all that. So hopefully it does.
You're a Liverpool fan. Daniel Sturridge has now come to your hometown in Perth. So, it could just potentially be that player. Like I remember when Del Piero came and played for Sydney FC, everyone wanted to play. So, definitely. And I think the last name from the A-League would be, in my eyes, Aaron Moy.
Yeah.
when
he moved across. And since then, it has quite. But I do feel we'll start to see some names popping up. Hopefully.
I really hope so. And watching the Olympics as well, the Ollie Roos, it was such a high when they beat Argentina, and it wasn't, after that, wasn't the best campaign, but I felt like there was something to be excited about, that the way that they played, it gave hope, which we haven't really had in a very long time.
No, that's so true. Like I remember, I'm a massive Graham Arnold fan for what he did for Sydney FC for me and all of that as well, and what he's done for the Australian squad and all that. This guy's a Wanderers supporter, so you can tell what he is. So, anyway, we won't worry about him. But no, like it's exactly that. I remember saying, like that game in particular, we were all watching it. We were messaging in our chats and all of that. It's like, wow, like this is definitely something that I suppose like we haven't seen an Australian team take it to a big international like that for some time, and credit to them. They played a great game and all that, but it did kind of fizzle out a bit after that one. So hopefully we can get back on top.
Yeah, I really hope so, because it's giving hope and something to be proud of as well when it comes to the national team, and we haven't had that in a long time.
No, definitely. Next one I wanted to cover, Michelle. Now, one of the biggest talking points at the moment is the foreign ownership dominating domestic leagues. Now, most notably, the latest news of the takeover of Newcastle United in the Premier League, which you would probably be able to pay a bit more attention to, being with Optus Sports. Now, one of the things that we were thinking about, or that has come to our mind in particular, having these big family investments funds and all of that come and take over clubs with big traditions and so forth. Do you feel it will dilute the traditions and probably tamper with some of the club's history? Like, for example, one of the quotes that we heard this week from Francesco Totti was that football was, in his time, made with love. Now it's just for business.
Yeah, I don't know if tradition will be lost, because I feel like that's a lot down to the fans to keep that going. I did see how ecstatic the Newcastle fans were, celebrating outside St. James's Park. But it is at the same time, it is a bit of a shame that money is what's controlling everything. And you've also seen these just wild numbers for players as well. Like, it's just, when's it going to stop? I think Jose Mourinho said that maybe in the last couple of years, when you're seeing that players are worth $100 million and all that. It's like, how far is it going to go? And then that also has a knock-on effect on clubs financially. Like, look at Barcelona and the state that they're in. So, and I feel like the thing that it's going to hinder the most is the competitiveness. If four clubs have this endless amount of money, then the competitiveness, that's where the quality is going to affect it the most.
Yeah, and I think you alluded to it, but the competitor, you look at France now, last season might be classified as a bit of a write-off for PSG not winning the title, but since their ownership's taken over, it has just been PSG. And essentially they're just carrying the leg on across Europe and all of that. But then you look at this transfer window, and now they didn't spend much on paper, but when it comes to wages, I think personally they had one of the best transfer windows in history, signing players from everywhere. But I think the rift between first and second is just growing ever so much. And you look at the fans of Newcastle, and they're celebrating because they're finally going to be able to compete with Tottenham, Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, etc. But you're also facing that whole, well, that's Newcastle now, so what's happening with the rest of the league? So
it's the gap. The gap starts getting bigger, and that's why I love the Premier League so much, because it's far more fair than, say, like La Liga, where you've got your top teams and the ones that in the mid-table and bottom just don't stand a chance. So I hope that doesn't change that much in the Premier League, just down to money.
Yeah, and I think it was Courtois this week, following his game against Italy for third place in the Nations League. He just said that they're draining us. Like, the FIFA, UEFA, they're looking at this, trying to make as much money, and that alludes back to Totti's comment, but they're not looking out for the welfare of players. And you look at Barcelona's star there, Pedri. He played all of last season, then he played the Euros, then he played the Olympics, and then he's playing. So he had a world record amount of games in the last season. And does it come down to the welfare of players as well? Because essentially it's gone from being more of a sporting and accolade-based business to an entertainment business, where if you've got the biggest names, you're going to have the biggest fan base. Like, social media-wise, PSG's numbers just kept climbing the more and more Messi was linked to him. United, the exact same thing with Ronaldo, and we saw the Ronaldo effect when he went to Real Madrid, when he went to Juventus, and so forth. So is the La Liga taking the right stance in sort of introducing that salary cap per se?
Well, yeah, I feel like they're at the point that they have to do it, because if not, like I said, more so in La Liga, there's already a huge gap. So can you imagine if those, Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Atletico Madrid just, run away with everything all the time? It kind of makes it boring to watch.
Yeah. No, definitely.
So FIFA announced their top 30 names for the Ballon d'Or this year. And it was probably one of the most diverse lists I've seen in some time. Like, it's not one of those years where you look and it's like Ronaldo or Messi, because there's been so many highlights across not just domestic leagues and European competition, but internationally as well. So, with that being said, I know your answer may be controversial yet again, but who do you see taking out this year's top gong when it comes to the Ballon d'Or?
I think it's really hard to pick because of, I guess one thing for sure is I don't think Messi is going to win it. I think Ronaldo could. I don't know. I don't. I'm just trying to think of the factors that go into it. But if he went, I mean, going to Manchester United, he's almost like scored in every single game that he's played in. But the one that I would actually like to see win it is Robert Lewandowski, because I think consistency should finally be rewarded, because every single week he is scoring a goal. He's constantly breaking records in the Bundesliga and everything. So, yeah, I'd love to see him win it. I don't think he will, though.
All right, guys, that's going to be the end of section 1 for this interview. We're just going to quickly duck outside as it starts bucketing as it starts bucketing down here. So we'll be back with you in a minute.
Okay, so we are now back. We've had to relocate quickly because it started pouring here in Sydney. But just to recap, you were saying Robert Lewandowski as your man to take it out. I beg to differ. I feel there's two names out there that potentially could take this out, and one would be Italy and Chelsea's Jorginho, who won the Champions League, won the Euros, did everything almost possible to win, and he's up there. But then you say Messi's out of it, but he won the Copa America with Argentina, and it was such a massive feat for not just himself but for the country. And you look at him, he was always criticized because it came down to, oh, what have you won with your country? And he's finally done that. And I don't know, the Ballon d'Or is a popularity contest at times, isn't it?
It really is. Like I like your pick of Robert Lewandowski, to be honest, and I hated that last year's got cancelled, and to me he was absolutely a shoo-in to get it and to break the record that he did in the German Bundesliga and so forth. And for me, he'd be my pick, but I wouldn't mind seeing Kante as well for Chelsea, to be honest, because to me, he had a phenomenal 12 months, not just like Jorginho and played good for the last 6 months, to be perfectly honest, in my opinion. So he would be my go-to because, to me, he won that Champions League pretty much on his own as well.
You know, on Jorginho, actually, during the Euros, Michael Bridges was saying Jorginho for Ballon d'Or, and people were laughing.
We're watching that. Yeah.
And I spoke for the Copa America for the previews. I was doing it with a Brazilian journalist, and he also mentioned Jorginho as well. Mm-hmm. And so Bridgie was like, oh, yeah, see, someone's backing me up. And then from there, a lot of people were saying Jorginho.
Yeah, I just think, what else is there to win? Okay, City ran away with the league in the end, but when you have a new manager mid-season and Tuchel came in and revolutionized the way Chelsea played and basically defeated everyone, he got to the final and defeated this apparently unstoppable Manchester City team. A lot comes down to that. And then you put on top, he won the Euros with Italy, and the records just kept coming for him. But I don't know. I think this year is probably one of the years where you can't actually say this player is going to get it. Because at the end of the day, it is very hard. The female version, the Ballon de Femme, is also happening. Mm-hmm. Is our Sam Kerr going to be? Is it going to be her year this year?
As much as I would love her to win it, I don't think so. The favorite is Alexia Putellas from Barcelona. And I don't know if you guys have watched Barcelona play. Yeah. They are like next level.
They are.
Yeah. And she is the star of it, along with Jennifer Morso as well. Both of them have scored, I think, something like last season it was like 49 goals together. It's just, and they won the league with a goal difference of, I think it was positive 152 or something insane. So yeah, Alexia Putellas has already won the UEFA Best Player as well. So I reckon she's going to win it, as much as I would love Sam Kerr to win it. And Sam Kerr's had such a brilliant season as well. And she started off fantastic this one as well. But I think she'll get edged out.
Oh, look, she had Opta Sport actually released a graphic today, and she had 27 goals, 10 assists in 31 appearances, so 37 total goal contributions, averaging 58 minutes per goal / assist. So that's absolutely massive. And if that was translated across to Jorginho or Messi or something, those figures would be through the roof. But I don't know. I just feel she's done enough. But
you think she's going to win it?
Now you've got me thinking about this Barcelona team, because I completely forgot about that.
You know, the other thing that gets me is that and this is one thing, of course, us being Aussies, we're always going to root for our own and all that type of thing. But I kind of always feel like in the international and European stage and all that, we are maybe looked down a little bit. Oh, they're Australian and they're not as good on this and that. And like, of course, Sam Kerr can't win the Ballon D'Or. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it should be unheard of. And I feel like, what needs to be done to break that stigma? Like, what more does she need to do? But in saying that Barcelona team is literally, that's just next level.
Yeah, exactly. I know. So it's hard, but yeah, you do make a very good point. And I wonder if it's the same with women's football as well, because the Matildas are ranked higher, like a lot higher than what the Socceroos have ever been, I'm pretty sure.
So they're fourth in the world at the moment.
Yeah, so I wonder if that doesn't translate through to women's football, you would hope. But you would still think that, you know, if Sam Kerr was Brazilian.
That runs through your mind. And, you know, when it comes to these awards, a lot of the times it is a popularity contest, and you just need the captain to vote for you. The media has to vote for you. So you need a lot of different factors to go your way. And that's why, and a lot of people don't see that side of the Ballon d'Or. They just go, oh, FIFA awarded Messi or Ronaldo this, but they don't realize the votes are coming from the players themselves. The votes are coming from, you know, the media, the coaches. So it is a popularity contest which needs to have some form of basis. But do you put Sam Kerr in the top 3 in the final shortlist?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we will see her on the final night.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. And I think she's so deserving of it. But it's just that, you know, those Barcelona girls, they've taken it to the next level. So it's as much, like I said, as much as I'd love Sam Kerr to win it, I guess we've got to be realistic about it as well. Yeah. And Barcelona, just playing for Barcelona, I think, that has a whole another element to it that,
And it throws me back to 2010, where Wesley Sneijder had an absolutely phenomenal season with Inter. They won the treble. They beat Barcelona. They beat Bayern Munich in the final of the Champions League. They won everything. And everyone, like, popular opinion was he deserves to win it. And I think it went to Messi that year.
It went to Messi, yeah.
And it was just like, if he was playing for Barcelona, on the other hand, it's like, okay, well, this is how it goes and stuff like that. But talking about the Champions League, who is your favourite to win it this year and why?
I feel like it's a really hard one. I'd love Liverpool to win it.
I think you're a good shout.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance. But I'm also thinking Pep Guardiola wants the Champions League so bad with City. And, you know, they've come so close to it that, as you know, the Premier League is important. But if they can get a forward in January, I feel like Manchester City could win it.
I like that.
I think, that's Bruno's team, by the way, Manchester City. Really? He's cheering for it. Look, it's one of those things. Like we were almost, or to me, I've pretty much ruled out PSG because as formidable as their front is, they are very poor defensively, and until they get Sergio Ramos back to tighten that defense, they leak goals like there's no tomorrow. They've got some problems in their defense. So to me, they're out. But Liverpool, I feel like, is starting to get that momentum, which what we saw 2 to 3 years ago when they won the Champions League and the title in the Premier League and all that as well. And mate, Salah and Firmino and Mane, that's a front three, and Van Dijk.
Yeah, having Van Dijk back is just
look, I look back to the way Liverpool were a couple of years ago, where they lost the final and then the following year they won the final. I feel City can replicate that, and they do say you got to lose one to win one. But I can't go past Bayern Munich. They just it doesn't matter who they're playing. They just they're ruthless.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really are, and they're so dominant in every single game that they play. Yeah, it's so true. And I guess sometimes you kind of forget about them because of the consistent level, the high level that they're constantly playing at, like every single week. And I also think that ties it back to Lewandowski as well. Like, just
definitely.
Whole combination. Yeah, they're just so strong. And on PSG, you would think that on paper they would, obviously with having Mbappe and Messi and Neymar, but it'll be interesting to see if they.
One of my favorite points I like to bring up almost every week is that if only the games were won on paper, how much different would it be?
Yeah, because you even look at United's team on paper, they've got a fantastic team with Ronaldo, Lingard, Sancho, Varane, who's now injured, unfortunately, and they're just struggling. And I feel PSG have put too much into this transfer window, and it's all about chemistry. And none of these players, like, you've got the Neymar Messi link, but you've also got Messi Ramos, who were butting heads up until last season. So
now they have to be teammates and get along and all. So I guess they are professionals at the end of the day, and their competitive nature will come through more than anything. But it is really bizarre when, you know, for the better part of the last decade, they've been hating on each other, and now they're playing together.
Definitely. All right, guys, I think that's pretty much all the time we've got. We want to let Michelle get back to what she does best and reporting our favorite sport. Michelle, do you want to give a shout out to where everyone can catch you on Twitter and so forth?
Yes. So my Twitter handle is at @mmescobar_. I'm pretty sure.
We'll have it up. We'll pop it up on the.
That would be good. And then stay across Optus Sport for the Premier League, the Women's Super League, and we've got the World Cup qualifiers coming up now that the men's ones have finished for the 2023 World Cup, for the Women's World Cup next week. So, a lot going on at the moment. Yeah.
It was an absolute honor having you here, and I hope it's the first of many appearances, but thank you so much. And from all of us here at Football Worldwide, we will see you in the coming days. Don't forget, you've got Everything EPL with Mo, Serie A Roundtable with Anthony, and European Weekly Catch-Up with us too. So thank you all.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and like this video, because Michelle's been an amazing guest. So thank you very much again. So thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, guys.
Love it.